Miami Hurricanes are going to need to add at least 2 more players through the transfer portal, and they're both going to have to be on the defensive side of the football.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet and co-host of Locked On ACC. Thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, folks, since yesterday, we've had 4 players depart from Miami in the transfer portal. I think 2 of those departures are more significant than the others. We'll talk about it. And we know Miami does have more needs. And I would say the Hurricanes are pretty much done on offense. Miami is building what looks like could be the best offense in the ACC on paper. The defense still needs some finishing touches, though, to say the least. And that's why we've got Mr. Defensive Tackle with us.
Here we go.
Bruce Keller himself, Bruce
Here
Warner.
we go.
Bruce, I just think listen, you always bring it up, and you have a right to bring it up. Miami could use defensive tackle help. I think Miami can also use a safety now after losing Savion Riley yesterday. We'll talk more about that one. The Hurricanes have been active and looking for a defensive end. So, I know you and I are both trying to get as much intel as we possibly can on Simeon Barrow from Michigan State, who is, I believe, still on campus right now, still on campus today, visiting Miami. They were supposed to also have Derek Harmon, his Michigan State teammate, another defensive tackle, visiting. Unfortunately, somebody talked him out of making that Miami visit.
I think he's hunting buffalo.
Yeah, he's hunting buffaloes right now in Boulder. Is that where he is?
Yeah. But the changes, we talk every day. It's pretty funny how since yesterday we've got changes. And there's more changes to the roster than my granddaughter's diapers. It's just constant, and it's and there's probably more to come. I didn't expect Pulliam to be one of the guys. I did not. And Savion Riley, he just got here. Yeah. So obviously he's not good enough. They still want to upgrade. I think that bodes well for Zaquan Patterson. I think he shows he could play. But listen, my opinion on Simeon Barrow, I say 75-25. He's coming.
Really?
That's my opinion on Barrow. And then we just have to fill it in. And we talked yesterday. I said, Justin Scott's not here, but he's a 5-star. Last year, Bain played. He's undersized, and he played great. Why? Because he's tenacious and he doesn't stop. If Scott's like that, why can't he play? He's big. I'm not saying start and never come out, but he's got to get some playing time as a 5-star D tackle. When you think?
Yeah. No, I would think so. And I think Artavius Jones could also be a candidate to play. I just think that obviously if you're Mario Cristobal and Jason Taylor and Joe Salavea, you want to have your bases covered with veterans because, again, with Scott and Jones not even on campus yet, you can't say for sure exactly how good they're going to be day one in Miami's defense. They might be great. They might be 2 other versions of Ruben Bain from last year. Just the way that Miami's been operating in the transfer portal to this point with the types of players they've been going after, the types of players they've been landing, it's very clear they are valuing guys who have experience, starters experience in Power 5 teams because they don't want to risk wasting this season with Cam Ward, this one season coming up with Cam Ward. They want to build the best, most experienced team possible. So I get it. Like if Miami does, and I'm not saying this is going to be the case because I agree with you. I think things are trending. They seem to be trending pretty well with Simeon Barrow from Michigan State. But if Miami does miss out on this one, because the defensive tackle market in the portal has been crazy, then in that case, you're going to have to rely on some young guys. I'm also not forgetting, Bruce, that Miami added C.J. Clark in the last transfer portal window, who was a regular starter on an NC State defense that was technically better than Miami's last year.
Yeah,
and he
so
was
they have him. They have Thor. Who were the other
Marley
two?
Cook.
Yeah, Marley Cook. And who was the last one they got last year, too? They got 2 last year, 2 this year. But there was another
Oh.
DT that's in there
Oh, well,
somewhere.
that he left. It was the
He left,
one.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
those three plus if we get um, if we wind up with Simeon, we'll be okay. We don't have a lot of depth. As I've been saying all along, the D tackle position is critical, but our offense is going to be so good that if the defense even plays average and gives up 20, 24, 25 points a game, we should win every game. We should win every game. But then again, we're not playing yet. We're just sitting here talking about names on pieces of paper.
Right.
I didn't think the defense was so great in the spring game. Did you?
In the spring game, no. I thought the defense was better last season than I expected it to be. You did lose some of the pieces, including your top two safeties from that team last year.
Yeah.
But I thought, to me, it's one of the reasons why I'm so high on Lance Guidry as a defensive coordinator is, as he showed you when he was at Marshall, as he showed you years ago at Western Kentucky, he tends to get more out of his players than what the talent level looks like on paper. So that's nice. But
Okay.
then at the same time, can I tell you right now, I feel like Miami's defense is better than Florida State's or Clemson's. I can't tell you that because there's some things I need to see to believe.
Well, we got Bassett. He had a good spring. Obviously, Malinois was out. He didn't play, but I'm not worried about him. We just need to make sure we have the other linebacker position, and we got the kid from Louisville, Alderman. Whether he starts or not, I don't know, but he played a lot last year. I think our secondary is going to round itself out. Look, we know who one of the starters is going to be. We're hoping that Brown steps up. We'll see about Stafford. He's probably going to be a second teamer. I don't know if Hill's going to actually start or not, which is what you said yesterday.
Right.
But at least, and at least if they can get their 15, 16 core defensive guys and they're in a rotation and everybody knows what they're doing, we should be okay. Are we dominant up front? Are we physical up front? Not really. And the other thing is, really the big question mark is Messidor's health. Because if Messidor can't be a full go every game, that hurts as well.
I mean, he's healthy now.
We're counting on him.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and we also, as we've talked about before, Bruce, there's a couple of young defensive tackles. We talked about the freshmen who are coming in, but got a couple second and third year guys. I think they were pretty high on Ahmad Moten and Josh Horton in spring football. The coaching staff was pretty high on these guys. They're both over 300 pounds. They both have the physical traits and attributes to be strong defensive tackles. And I'm pretty optimistic that those guys can show us something this year. They just don't have they don't have the proven chops that a guy like Simeon Barrow, who's on campus visiting Miami right now. The guy who hosts Locked On Michigan State thinks he's arguably the best player on Michigan State's defense, not best defensive lineman, the best player on their defense the last couple of years. This is someone who last season, he started every game last season at defensive tackle. He started 30 games during his career there. Last year, 36 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. He played in 12 games, started 10 games at defensive tackle this past season, I should say. And so I think this is someone that if you can add a Simeon Barrow, you pencil him in as a starter.
Yes.
And we're not really talking about defensive tackle as being a potential weakness. I think we're talking about it as a potential strength.
Yeah, that's what they need. They need a big guy like that to occupy two guys on the offensive line because that'll free up our DNs. And if you don't have that, then they could chip a defensive end. They don't have to worry about double teaming anybody, and so he's critical. Now, if we would have gotten both of these guys, that would have been awesome. But I don't think the other kid's coming. I think he's going to wind up in Colorado. And
probably, yeah.
Whatever, but we can't miss out on Barrow. They have to lock him up today.
Well, and another one, I don't know what's going on with CJ West, but that was someone Miami did offer right after he hit the portal. So I don't know if that's someone they could still circle back to if things don't work out with Barrow, but it's something to keep an eye on. And then, Bruce, the other positions Miami is looking at right now on the defensive side of the football at adding someone, I think they're going to start looking pretty heavily at safeties.
Yes.
And a name that's been out there who's been kind of loosely linked to Miami. There's a tie-in with another player who recently visited Miami. Now, Tyler Barron, he's the defensive end from Louisville, but played at Tennessee, didn't actually play at Louisville. He transferred there in January, transferred right out of there.
Right. We should know today on him.
We should know today on, and if we land him, Miami could have a legit shot at Wesley Walker, who's one of the top available safeties, because they're stepbrothers and they played together. They played together at Tennessee. They left Tennessee together. And, you know, some people are kind of rumoring interest with Miami and Wesley Walker. So depending on what happens with Tyler Barron, you could end up kind of solving both defensive end and safety in similar moves, because it seems like these guys want to play together again.
Yeah. They need another corner. I think they need one more corner, but I don't know how they thought of Stafford and some of the other young kids that they have there. If they still have a lot of names, but these kids haven't developed. A lot of the 4-star kids we've had in the last year or two, they never developed. That seems to be a bad pattern, not developing. You know, we lost Jaden Wayne. Why? He was only here the 1 year and he got some playing time. But you said you spoke to his dad and he didn't think he was going to get much playing time. I don't see that at all. I thought he would have played a lot.
No, I don't think he would have played a lot, because I think he had been for better or for worse. I think Cole McConaughey had already passed him, and Marquise Lightfoot had passed him on the depth chart in their first spring. So I think that's why. And we can have a similar conversation about Marcellius Pulliam, because, you know, Miami had since yesterday, one of these. Pulliam dropped this morning. Miami had 3 players hit the portal yesterday. Remember, the Hurricanes are trying to get and stay under the 85 scholarship limit. We're talking about adding 2 or 3 more players. By my unofficial count, Miami is now at 84 scholarships. So if you want to add more than one more player, you've got to open up a couple of more spots. But within the last 24 hours, we've lost 4 players into the portal. We're going to talk about it, including why Savion Riley and Marcellius Pulliam decided to leave. Folks, we're only getting started. Got the Truth Teller with us on this Truth Teller Tuesday. You want to keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I already know you're keeping it locked to Game Time. Guys, this is the only ticket app I use. So easy, so convenient, and I get the best prices on the Game Time app, and those prices get better the closer that you get to Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Folks, the all-in pricing is a game changer. They don't bait and switch you and tack on fees at the end. You see right up front exactly what prices you're going to pay at Game Time. And the Game Time guarantee means if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. So whether you're looking at tickets for sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, you name it, they've got it on Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're also proudly brought to you by FanDuel. Folks, when you're watching these games, you can get action on those games at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because, yes, it is playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your best place to bet on every game. So maybe you've been winning money betting against the Marlins. They're really bad. Anything you want, you can find it at FanDuel, including spreads, player props, which are so much fun, over-unders, money line. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you so much for making this live Truth Teller Tuesday episode of Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so Bruce, the 4 exits within the last 24 hours, Miami players who have hit the portal. By the way, the deadline to enter the portal it's tonight at midnight. But the thing is, there could be some not just at Miami, anywhere. There could be some we don't hear about until tomorrow because the deadline to file your paperwork is tonight.
Right.
Some of these may not actually leak and come out until tomorrow, just so you know. But Miami, within the last 24 hours, have lost cornerback Demetrius Freeney. He wasn't going to play much, Bruce. This is not, I wish all these players the best wherever they end up. But Demetrius Freeney, in terms of Miami's too deep, not a significant loss. Same can be said for offensive lineman Jonathan Dennis. This was someone who actually transferred in from Oregon a couple years ago when Mario came in, but Dennis wasn't going to play much here. But then Savion Riley and Marcellius Pulliam. Let's start with Savion Riley, Bruce. This is actually, I would say in the short term that this is the biggest of the 4 losses because, I went out to most every practice. Riley was getting a lot of first team reps in practice at safety. So I'm not exactly sure, 100% sure why he's no longer here. Remember, he just transferred in December or January from Vanderbilt. So he hadn't actually played at Miami. Now you can theorize what may have happened. If I think of the possibilities, Bruce, you've got a young guy like Zaquan Patterson who had an excellent spring. Maybe there's a feeling he would be taking some of his playing time away. Maybe Riley decided he can maybe get an opportunity that's better for him somewhere else. Maybe he caught wind of the fact that Miami is looking at potentially other safeties in the transfer portal and decided this is his cue to leave. But whatever it is, again, Bruce, this is someone who had a pretty good spring, got a lot of significant reps in spring. So Riley is one of the ones that surprised me more than most of those players who have left.
Obviously, it's a surprise because everybody had him penciled as a starter. And then he waits until like the night before the last day to say, I'm out of here. Now, come on, the game was 2 weeks ago. He should have known by then. I just don't know. Maybe he got feedback recently that, we're looking for other people, but we haven't seen any other safeties coming in here. So I have no idea. I don't want to guess. But I do believe that Zaquan's going to play a lot. He's going to look at all the guys that we've had. We had 3 freshman linebackers several years ago that started as true freshmen. So let him get some. He probably has better tackling skills than Riley. He probably has better coverage skills. He's just less experienced. So I just think their defense is the weak part of this team. There's no sugarcoating it. I think they know it. They have to get this guy today. They have to get Barrow, and that would help a lot. That would help. Their defensive line would be much more solid. I think the linebackers are solid. You've mentioned the names. We've got a couple of good guys. We've got Popo, but the secondary is going to be a work in progress, and that's you have to just keep digging and digging to get guys that can play.
Well, and with Savion Riley leaving, it tells me almost certainly Mish Powell, I think, is going to play safety, not nickel, right? They're going to solve nickel some other way internally, whether that means starting Damari Brown at that spot or maybe Diani Hill, who just came in. Maybe they feel comfortable playing him there. But there's been a lot of talk about Mish Powell playing at the star or the nickel. I doubt that's going to happen now.
I agree with you.
Then, feeling maybe really good about a combination of different guys like Jaden Harris also had a really good spring at safety, Zaquan Patterson, and then you definitely bring in someone else. And then the other loss player leaving that surprised a lot of people, and I like this player a lot, and I've said it before on this show, I will say it again. I've been doing Locked On Canes for a little over the past 2 years, and that means we've done so much intensive coverage of the recruiting classes of 2023 and 2024. And those players like Marcellius Pulliam, like Jaden Wayne, that I cut, like I almost feel like these guys are like a member of my family in some weird, because I've covered these players so much. So I'm always sad to see these players leave. Pulliam was part of that class of 2023 recruiting class at Miami. This is a linebacker who's decided to hit the transfer portal. Now, there's a couple different ways, Bruce, that people are looking at this. Is he upset that Miami, went and added Jalen Alderman, who plays his position? I don't think that's the biggest factor here, Bruce, because, okay, Alderman coming in, he's going to be one of, let's say, the top 3 linebackers in Miami's rotation. If he's not a starter, he's, the first guy off the bench, right? With Pulliam, now, I'm not saying like, oh, you had to get rid of this guy, because I don't know what he was going to develop into. He appeared in, I think, 8 games last year. He had an interception last year.
So he didn't redshirt. He
didn't redshirt, I don't think. No, but this is someone who I think can become a very good player. But the reality of today, Bruce, the reality of right now is Marcellius Pulliam is behind on the depth chart. Obviously, Kiko. Obviously, he's behind Bissaint. He's behind Jalen Alderman. He's behind Popo Aguirre. He's behind Bobby Pruitt. That's the
Yeah.
reality. If I'm not sure if Adarius Hayes is ahead of him yet, but things were maybe trending in that direction. So I think Marcellus Pulliam can be a really good player, but when there's at least 5 guys in front of you on the depth chart, sometimes you have to make a decision to go somewhere you can play more.
And you can't fault him because you know what he does? He wants to play. He's got 3 years left. He wants to play. He doesn't want to sit on the bench this year and then maybe transfer. Let him go someplace else. Look, UCF and SMU are loaded with our former players. Maybe he'll go there. Maybe a lot of these guys will continue to go there. It's like a farm system for SMU and UCF. That's what it seems like. And SMU's in our conference now, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They're in the. We don't play them this year, but they're in.
We don't play them this year, but still, right? There's some people on here making comments about a lot of these kids. Look, I mentioned Scott. I think he's going to play. I don't know about Blunt. I know people talk about Blunt. I love him, but he's young. Is he 18 yet? He's young.
Not even sure he's 17 yet.
I think he's 17, but I don't think he's 18.
He might have just turned 17. Yeah.
Yeah, he's young. That's just too soon for a kid like that. It's not fair. But we got him. He's a 5-star, and he'll build himself up. And
yeah,
but that's more along. This is all this portal stuff is about this year for the most part. Yeah, like we got Martinez. He's got an extra year. I don't think he'll be here next year. I think
his plan is to be drafted in 2025. Correct. Yeah.
Right. So this is all about getting everybody on board this year so we win at least 10 games. We're in the ACC title hunt unless we win it outright and maybe make the playoffs. That's what this is all about. But again, I really do believe we're going to get Simeon Barrow. Assuming we get him, we're in pretty good shape. I mean, seriously, even with the losses of the guys we have. Look, we saw Cam Pruitt. He looks really good. He looks really, really good. Although last year in the bowl game, didn't Pulliam have a pick? He had an interception.
Yeah.
But
it was either the bowl game or the Boston College game. I can't remember. It was one of those.
Boston, one of those 2 games. Correct. Yeah. So, but those are special team guys. That's what those guys mostly are. Special teams guys, which is nothing wrong with that because our special teams have not been that exciting in years. People keep talking about why can't we block a punt? Why can't we block an extra point or a field goal? It's true. Yeah. We don't have Mac. Remember him? Yeah. He was great.
It's funny. Yesterday on a recent recording, I think it was yesterday on Locked On ACC, we were talking a little bit about Virginia Tech and their glory days, and you and I, you're obviously old enough to remember this. You're even older than me. Just to remind people, Beamer ball. Like, you used to Virginia Tech back in their glory days. You always knew they were going to block a kick. They were going to block a punt. They were going to return a kick for a touchdown.
They were great.
And I also remember when Miami used to go up against Frank Beamer, Miami always used to one-up them. Like, oh, Beamer ball, we're going to block your punt and block your kick. And it was so much I want to get back to that. Obviously, I want that more for Miami than I want it for Virginia Tech, but I would love to get back to that outstanding special teams play. But I do want to talk on the other side because, again, we're talking about some of these players leaving, players I really like. I don't want anyone to think that I don't believe Miami's roster is going to be better by the time this transfer portal is done because the net upgrades are happening, Bruce. So I don't want anyone to think we're all gloom and doom. We're going to keep talking about it. We are not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. By the way, smash that like button. We're live right now on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio version, fantastic. Take us with you wherever you go and keep it locked right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. And I know you're keeping it locked to Monopoly Go. I'm trying not to get too addicted to this app, but it's hard. It's hard not to give in to the addiction. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get, like unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. I like trolling my friends on there. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games, like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. It's game on with Monopoly Go. Thank you so much for making this episode of Locked On Canes your first listen or your first watch today. Hey, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV Channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of the Locked On Network, plus our national shows that cover every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now, available on the free Fire TV Channels app. Got the truth teller with us here on Locked On Canes. Bruce, I was doing a little writing yesterday at allhurricanes.com about Miami's offensive upgrades, right? Where you replace Tyler Van Dyke with Cam Ward. I know that there's a few people who like to troll us to say, hey, Pro Football Focus rated Van Dyke higher than they rated Ward. Cam Ward is an upgrade, if not a significant upgrade over Tyler Van Dyke. The Wisconsin fans are seeing that because he's been struggling to try to win that quarterback competition. They didn't think there was going to be a competition there, and he's struggling to win that. So Ward is an upgrade both statistically and in reality over Tyler Van Dyke. If you compare, let's say, the departure of Henry Parrish versus the arrival of Damian Martinez, that is an upgrade. And then Sam Brown and Colby Young, I don't know. Brown, he put up better numbers in Houston than Young put up here last year. However, everyone in Georgia is raving about Colby Young. He's doing a great job there. But I believe Miami's offense has made significant upgrades compared to last year as we see them going all in to try to win with Cam Ward. The defense is a little bit more of a work in progress right now, Bruce. Thank goodness Kiko Mauinoa is back this year. Thank goodness a guy like Wesley Basaint looks like he's really stepped up, and I think he's going to have his best year yet in his third season coming up. Thank God we have Ruben Bain and some of the other pieces Miami has on defense. But the defense is more of a work in progress right now, Bruce. But with the offense, I don't think there's any question Miami should be significantly more dynamic on offense than they were last year.
Right, and you didn't mention our tight ends because we got the two guys back, Arroyo and Williams, and we got the monster from out in Bishop Gorman. That kid is spectacular, Elijah Lofton. We saw him in person. Oh my, he's massive, and he's a kid. That kid is really good. So that's another weapon that they have. We may wind up, if we can jump out to big leads, cause the other team's offense to be one-dimensional, which would really help our defense if we can make them one-dimensional.
Because we got pass rushers, Bruce.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We could very well be much better off based on that fact alone, which is there's a correlation between jumping out to leads and the other teams having to redesign their offensive plays to make sure they got to get back and they got to throw the ball. But I still think we're going to be okay. And I still think we're going to win at least 10 games, barring any serious injuries, because I'm very optimistic about this. It's hard not to be, like you said, Guidry's defense, they're very aggressive. If these kids could come to play, really give it their all. Look what happened. We just had the draft. Look what happened. I don't want to get yelled at. I don't want anybody making comments, but we were right about Leonard Taylor. Not only were we right about him, but the NFL all thought the same thing. The effort wasn't there.
The one that really shocked me was Javion Cohen not getting drafted.
Yes.
That one shocked me. Right. Like I still don't understand how that happened, but I didn't expect him to be a first or second round pick or anything like that. I was thinking mid round. I don't know how Javion Cohen went drafted.
An Alabama kid to not get drafted from the offensive line. That's kind of strange, but I had heard that he was better at, I'm not sure whether it was run blocking or pass blocking. One of the two he was better at, significantly better, and the other one he's weak at. And that's probably one of the reasons. But again, I love the roster. I love our special teams. We're going to have enough young talent that's going to be on special teams. I trust that Guidry is going to get that defense playing well, but I think it starts today. They have got to get Simeon Barrow. If they don't get him, then I have no opinion on the defense at all, because that I'm a defensive tackle guy first. And that's not because of Bruce. It's because of all the D tackles that I'm friends with and have spoken to over the years. True. And the guys we've had on the show one of these persons said, well, I bring former players, but they don't bring anything. Well, all those, Jesse Armstead talked about the significance of the defensive tackles. We had Will Fork on talking about the significance of it. We've had defensive backs talking about it. It's critical for this team to have the middle of their defense be effective against the run and to take on the 3 blockers that are in front of them, so the ends have single coverage and can do the most damage in collapsing the pocket. That's what this is all about. And that's why you need these big bruisers up front.
Amen
so
to that.
I think he's a critical part of this team. Even if he's not here yet, I hope we get him.
Yeah. And if we don't, there's others who have opportunities to step up. Huge shout out and thank you to Bruce Warner, the truth teller. As soon as, if and when Miami lands a defensive tackle, Bruce and I will probably just have to come on live again, and I'll let him just do the show. I'll just kind of sit here and watch while he celebrates. We appreciate you, Bruce, as always. Thank you so much, everyone who tuned in, made Locked On Canes a part of your day today. Make sure you subscribe. We're almost at 15,000 YouTube subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed to our channel, hit subscribe, help my self-esteem a little bit. Smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your audio pods. And we will talk to you guys again.
Thank everybody for last week's. Their well wishes for me to get better.
Yes.
I have pneumonia. I wasn't just sick.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling a little better. I'm still coughing. I'm still taking the machines and things like that. But I'm getting better. It just takes time, But I appreciate it.
If Miami gets a defensive tackle, you're going to have a miraculous recovery. You can throw out the antibiotics. You can throw out the nebulizer. You'll be fine if they get a defensive tackle.
Thank you. Oh, I don't know about that. That's not going to help me. Simeon Barrow is not going to help me, but that's okay. Hey, you got a great show here, and all these people that make these comments, we appreciate it. It's great. I know they're talking about SAP, which I'm going to stay away from that. I ain't talking about SAP.
Yeah, I mean, there are some unconfirmed rumors out there.
It's probably true. I'll call Mark in a few minutes, and maybe he knows.
Okay.
If it is
true, let us know and give us the breaking news.
You will. I will. All right. Take care, you guys.
We'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.